Joining us, Melody Chu, Executive Editorial Director of Entertainment at People, and Chris Willman, the Senior Music Writer and Chief Music Critic at Variety. Thank you guys so much. Dolly Parton is exceptional and unique. And I think you can argue what made her different was the intimacy that she created with her audience. She could sing about heartbreak. She could sing about poverty. She could sing about ambition. But she made it feel like she was singing directly to you, directly to a dream you had, directly to a fear you had, directly to a need that you were trying to address. Chris, has there been anyone else quite like her?
There hasn't. I mean, I've sometimes thought, is it fair to call Dolly the most beloved entertainer in the history of popular entertainment? And that's a tough judgment to make, but I think it is, because who else has a 100% approval rating over 60 years? And that's a poll that's never been taken scientifically, but I don't know if you ever met anyone who would say they don't like Dolly Parton. I haven't. And I can't say, you can't say that about Elvis Presley, going back to Charlie Chaplin, certainly forward to Taylor Swift. There's a lot of detractors, but something about Dolly Parton just made people smile when you even mentioned her name, and let alone when they really thought about what she meant to them. And, so she was not polarized. She stayed out of controversies. She was thought of as inclusive, certainly an LGBTQ plus icon, and also equally beloved among, the most redneck of redneck people who thought, oh, maybe she's a little too inclusive for me, but I just love her. And that does come out of the songs, as you said. There's such a core authenticity beneath the phoniness that she cultivated. And I remember when I interviewed her, she had a quote stuck with me. She said, I've always thought that a certain bit of what magic I might have in the minds of people was that I look completely artificial. People ask me, are you the real Dolly Parton? I say, there's no such thing as a really Dolly Parton. But even though I look phony, my heart ain't. And people knew her heart. She called herself a big phony again in our interview, but with a laugh, because people did not think of her as that in the slightest, even though part of her whole persona coming up was, boob jokes on Johnny Carson, going from boobs to books, as a philanthropist. So much breadth there in her career and her interests.
But the lyrics were so authentic. The lyrics were so fundamental. Her songs were about things that no matter who you are, a kid in the Appalachian Mountains or, a billionaire on Fifth Avenue, everybody could relate to the lyrics. Everybody could relate to the feeling that you might be losing somebody. Everybody could relate to the need of longing for a certain person, longing for a one true love. I mean, you talk about the inauthenticity. Maybe it was the authenticity of the lyrics that punched through, Chris.
Sure. And, going back to Coat of Many Colors, all the songs that spoke to her upbringing in genuine poverty, and then up through Dumb Blonde, where she started playing with her persona. And I think even though that was like a silly song to kind of start her career with, women especially, but everyone sort of related to that dichotomy of there's a public me and then there's a private me that is really deep and true. And then to be able to writing songs that spoke specifically about her and her persona, but then, of course, I Will Always Love You, a song written about splitting up with Porter Wagoner professionally, and yet you would never know that from just thinking this was like kind of the most noble breakup song of all time, that certainly had to have been written about a love affair, even though it wasn't.
So, Melody, when you think about the loss of Dolly, what do you expect the reaction to be? How long do you expect this period of mourning to be?
Oh, this is endless. Losing Dolly is like losing American royalty. She she had a hand in every facet of entertainment, philanthropy, whether it was music, obviously, but theater, film, TV, the list goes on. I mean, the impact she has had on her industry and beyond it is immeasurable. And like you were saying before, she just spoke and tugged on heartstrings, no matter what it was she was doing, whether it was music or starring in a role or even, pairing up with Duncan Hines on Cake. Like, everything was just so genuine with her, despite her having this larger than life persona on stage. Until the very end, she just wore her heart on her sleeve. And it's something that no one else, I think, has been able to do in the way that she has.
Chris, what was it like to be in her presence? When you met her for the first time, when you walked into a room with her, just describe what it was like.
Yeah, I mean, your earlier guest said Santa Claus, and that's probably better than the phrase I've used, which is messianic. But, in my lifetime of meeting celebrities, Taylor Swift is the only one who comes close to sort of creating that presence in a room where she kind of locks in on underdog, and you just feel good to be in her presence. And but with Dolly, there was also the flirtatious side. The first time I met her, it was when she had an album out with Emmylou Harris and Linda Ronstadt that marked a new kind of beginning in her career called Trio, and it was in the mid '80s. And we were doing interviews, and they broke everyone up to be with different people. And then the first thing Dolly Parton ever said to me was, "Oh, you're going to leave me alone in this room with this handsome man?" And of course, I've never forgotten that. I still have Dolly Parton flirtation dream 40 years later. But you knew it was innocent because everyone knew that she was devoted to Carl Dean. And even if she posed on the cover of Playboy with rabbit ears, there was something really wholesome about that sexiness, and you knew that in real life nothing was ever going to go too far. And so the flirtatiousness, along with just the beneficent quality of someone who you knew really wanted to spread good in the world, and that you knew as someone who had literacy at the top of her list and wanted to do good by her community in East Tennessee, and was always, she just opened like this mega filling station in East Tennessee to benefit her community there that she always stands behind. And so it's that kind of stuff that you think about, along with the fun flirtatiousness that's always been a part of her career.